Today we're going to talk about fats, the third of our macronutrients that we're going to be covering. So what is fat? Well, fat is another macronutrient, just like protein and just like carbohydrates, except it kind of has some of the properties of both. In some senses, it's kind of a building block. Obviously, we have fatty tissue on our body, but more importantly, fat is stored energy. So it's kind of like a carbohydrate in the sense of that it's stored energy, and it's an energy source for our body, and our body loves to use it as an energy source when it needs to. So it's a macronutrient, it's stored energy, okay? And think about it like this. 1 gram of fat is equivalent or equals 9 calories. So it has a lot more calories, a lot more energy than, say, a carbohydrate. Because remember, a carbohydrate only had 4 calories per 1 gram. So fat has a lot more energy to it, but on the other hand, it takes more energy to burn it off. It takes 9 calories of energy just to burn it off. So that's, you have to look at it from both sides. So we want to make our bodies a fat-burning machine. So by limiting the carbohydrates, it forces our body to use the stored fat as our main energy source. So that's how we're able to start leaning down by decreasing our carbohydrates, let our body use the fat as the energy. Also, fat will convert back to glucose, and that's how we get our energy form. So just like glucose can turn into fat, fat can turn back into glucose. And so that's how we get our energy from it. But don't forget, fat is very important for your skin and your nails, the oils in our skin and in our hair. It's very important. So fat is an essential role in our body. And it's very important. So you never want to just completely cut it out. You just need to limit certain ones, and that's what we're going to talk about next. Now, not all fats are created equal. We're going to talk about all the different types of fats here and how they affect it and which ones you should eat and so forth. Saturated fats and trans fats, these are the bad fats, and these are the ones I really want you to try to limit. Read those food labels and make sure, because it'll tell you on there if they're saturated or if they're not saturated. So limit those. The unsaturated fats, however, those are our good fats. Those are the fats that actually help us burn more fat, and that's important for our skin and our hair and our nails. So unsaturated fats are good. Limit the saturated and the trans. We're going to talk a little bit more about that right now. So the way I like to look at it, kind of like we do with carbohydrates, is take your total fat, subtract your saturated and trans fats if you're reading your food label, and that's going to equal your good fat. So that's going to equal your unsaturated fats. A lot of times on food labels, it's not written as unsaturated fat, but it will be written saturated or maybe even trans fats. Trans fats are just now starting to come up on labels, so that's really a good thing to use that as a tool now, and because trans fats in some ways are actually worse than even saturated fats. So most food labels today actually show if there are trans fats or not. Okay, so let's talk about the bad fats, and let's look at saturated fats first. These are typically solid at room temperature. Your things like the fat in meats or maybe even butter, items like that. These are the dangerous fats. These are the ones that are going to increase your heart disease, the chance of heart disease. These are the ones that are going to increase your LDL cholesterol, and that's your bad cholesterol. Remember, you have your HDL cholesterol and you have your LDL cholesterol. LDL cholesterol is the bad cholesterol, and saturated fats tend to elevate that, so we really want to keep that limited. Again, these are typically found in your meats, the butter. A lot of dairy products have saturated fats, so just keep an eye on that. Again, read those labels. Just know what you're putting in your body. All right, let's take a look at the other bad fat, trans fats. Now, these are in some ways even worse than saturated fats. These are very dangerous fats. They will definitely increase your chance of heart disease. They definitely increase your LDL cholesterol. And these are the ones that are found typically in foods like donuts, fried foods, a lot of fast foods, and a lot of packaged foods even have a lot of trans fats in them too. So really pay attention to this, check your labels, or if you're eating out, check that, ask for foods that are lower in trans fats, or ask them if they cook in foods, or if they cook their foods in trans fats and things like that. It's very important that we really limit our trans fats. Okay, let's talk about the good fats. Now I know a lot of people say, well, how can there be good fats? I thought all fat was bad. Remember, the other fats, the unsaturated fats, those are the good fats. So anything that's not saturated or is not a trans fat, these are your good fats, okay? We call them unsaturated. These are typically liquid, but they can also be solid at room temperature. These are the kind of fats that are going to help lower your heart disease. They actually increase your HDL cholesterol, so they actually raise that good cholesterol. Now, these are the type of fats that are found in oils, nuts, fish, omega-3s, maybe avocados, soy, olives. These type of items are all really rich in essential fats and these good fats, and we call them essential fatty acids, or EFAs for short. So really important that we get enough unsaturated fat, enough of these essential fatty acids in our diet on a daily basis. So what about the oils? How about the good versus the bad? Which ones? I get this question a lot. Well, typically the ones that are higher in saturated fat are your coconut and your palm oil. So those are the ones I would recommend you maybe trying to avoid a little bit. On the other hand, the ones that are lower in saturated fat, such as your olive, fish, canola, flax, and sunflower oils, these are all really good oils to use in cooking. Obviously, olive oil is very popular now in cooking with, and I recommend that quite a bit for if most of your cooking if you can. But any of these are really good healthy oils. They're low in saturated fat and they're high in the good fats, the good essential fatty acids. So our 4 guidelines of fat: how often, how much, what items should we eat, and what about supplementation? How does that all affect fat? Let's take a look at each of them. Okay, so how much do you want to consume on a daily basis? Well, around 30% of your calories in a day should come from fat. So typically that's going to be around 40 to 70 grams a day. Again, remember, depending if you're a female or you're a male, or a little larger, a little smaller, I mean, your athleticism, all those different things are going to have factors. But somewhere around that guide range, okay? Now, however, and this is pretty much across the board for pretty much everyone, no more than 15 grams of saturated or trans fats a day. That's important. Really got to limit those. That's really a key number. Really limit those numbers. Now, also, though, make sure you get enough of the good fat. So try to at least get 5 to 10 grams of essential fatty acids throughout the day. Remember, things that are in the nuts, any of the oils, things like that. Okay, very important. Okay, so what foods should we be looking for to eat? Well, we kind of mentioned a few of these already. Remember, things like fish, really high in the good fats, those good omegas. That's a great source of it. Nuts, another great source. I love, nuts are just a great source of fats, are a great source of protein, a great source of the good carbohydrates, fiber. That's just a great snack, a great thing to eat any time of the day. Seeds and flax, another really good source of those essential fatty acids. And then obviously the good oils that we talked about, your olive oils, maybe your flax oil, things like that. Those are going to be your really good fats. So try to get as many of these as possible. Again, you'll find that on that shopping list in your book as well. So how about supplementation and how in relation to fats? Well, I've been talking a lot about the essential fatty acids and the importance of the EFAs and how important that is for our body. But unless you're eating, several servings of fish a day, you're probably not getting enough of those essential fatty acids, those omega fatty acids in our body. So I highly recommend, along with a good multivitamin, taking a good omega fatty acid or a fish oil pill. Typically the ones that I like or I recommend are the ones that are, kind of the clear capsule, has a little yellowish tint to it. These are the ones, take about 1 to 2 of those a day. That's going to give you all the essential fatty acids, all those omegas that you really need. Remember, these are the things that are so good for our hair, our skin, our nails. This is the type of fat that's going to actually help you burn, fatty tissue. And it's such an important nutrient for just general health and your immune system and lubricating your cells and all that, and lubricating your joints. Really, it's a really, really good thing. I can't stress it enough. So make sure you're taking that. Now, another supplement that's very popular in relation to fat are products that we call fat blockers. And these are products that you can actually take that will help you to not absorb the fat so easily. And so let's say you're getting ready to go out to a dinner, and you're gonna crash the diet. It's gonna be pizza, or it's who knows what, or burgers, and you're gonna be eating a lot of high fatty foods. Well, you can take a fat blocker about 30 minutes prior to eating those foods, and it'll actually kind of help absorb some of that fat so that so your body doesn't absorb it. And it's just, in a way, it's just a very high fibrous, usually in a capsule form, and I think that they do work actually pretty well for the most part. All right, well, let's do a quick little review here, what we talked about in relation to fats. So first off, I just want you to remember the differences between your saturated, your trans fats, and your unsaturated. Just remember to really try to limit your saturated and trans fats. That's very important. Keep the unsaturated fats. Remember, the unsaturated fats are your oils and the good healthy fats, fish, nuts, things like that. Keep those high. And if you need to, use a fish oil or an omegaplex as a way to supplement that. We also talked about how you can kind of eat fats throughout the day, but just try to, again, just really limit the bad ones and increase your good ones. And for the most part, that's about it. That's the skinny on the fat. I'll see you on the next one.